you take him to another planet, to a mothership? How they communicate with... Can you tell me what they look like? Can you tell me how many of them there were? Were you given food?
But the teachers are alive. They're not books. They are the very living essences of nature itself.
What a strange person.
Unbelievably powerful supercomputer that's running our reality, and we don't have a clue as to how to operate it.
So when maybe you or somebody else creates an AGI system and you get to ask her one question, what would that question be?
What's outside the simulation?
Say in your mind, say to yourself, I am more than my physical body, because I am more than physical matter. I can perceive that which is greater than the physical world.
Welcome to Lighting the Void.
All broadcasting from New York, upstate near the Great Lakes, it's Lighting the Void, and I'm your host, Neil Roop. Welcome to the show tonight. We're live on the Fringe FM, KTLK Digital Broadcasting. I believe it's Monday night, November the 9th, on into the 10th. Jesus. And tonight I want to talk a little bit of philosophy here with you. I don't know. Something I came up with on my own. If you want to support the show, you can go to patreon.com/LTV radio. You can also go to lightingthevoid.com. You can click on the Patreon banner or the donate button. We could sure use your help right now, if you can, for the show, that is. And we're still like editing the Fringe Fest videos too. Talked to Jess Rogie. She's going to help me get. It's a lot of video, man. We're going to get it all edited and sent out for all of you guys that went to the Fringe Fest. So that's coming on the way too. Don't forget to download the new apps to the Fringe FM from your Play Store, your iTunes App Store, or your Amazon Alexa. You can use the app there. You can also use the shout out feature, which is really cool. I wish more people would utilize it more, but whatever. It's still cool. It's fun. We'll do like a contest or something with it. Maybe we'll do it tonight. And use that shout out feature. You can still use the speak pipe button too at Lighting the Void to give us a shout. And anytime you want to say something, doesn't matter what it is. Doesn't matter if you hate me, love the show, love the people, whatever. Say whatever's on your mind. I'll make something out of it. Also, let's see. What else do we got? The New Moon show with Mary is also coming up this week, this Friday. We got some cool guests coming up for you. But on Monday nights, I kind of wanted to try something different, right? I told you we were going to shake things up, and I don't know what I'm doing. Honestly, I have no idea. I got to be honest with you guys. I have no idea how to do radio or anything like that. I just buy books and read them and then try to do what the books say. You know, I want to be all like proper and stuff, but I don't know how to really do that. I'm not going to lie to you. So I'm learning because I love radio. But I got to thinking, man, what can I talk about tonight? And You know, we talk a lot about astrology and tarot and consciousness and the out-of-body experience and the occult and magic and whatever. But it's hard to ignore some of the stuff that's happening in my life and our lives with the election and COVID. And how do you not talk about this stuff when it's all around you? And so I see these, like earlier in the chat, like Abby said something about how she was feeling really bad on herself. And sometimes we feel that way. Sometimes we feel like a failure. Sometimes we feel great. And I just think it's really cool that everybody in this community opens up and talks to us this way. And if you want to go to the chat, by the way, you can. That's at the fringe.fm/chat room. But I think being open and vulnerable in those kind of ways, I think that's what I would call emotionally intelligent, where you can be open and vulnerable, say how you're feeling, even though you might be worried about how someone else is feeling, even if that person has hurt you in the past or whatever. If you can speak your emotions openly and you can speak what's on your mind openly, and do it in a way that doesn't damage, which is hard sometimes, but still do it in a way, then you can connect with people, right? That's how you connect. At least that's how I connect with people. But then I come across this thing. What are these repeating patterns that keep happening? Like, what is this thing that eggs me, that really irritates me about human behavior? I think sometimes, because I just can't figure this out. These cycles, I guess. And Mary comes on the show, and we talk about breaking cycles. Like, if we don't break a cycle, we keep doing the same thing over and over again, or we don't change because change is uncomfortable. But there is one thing that you can guarantee that's going to happen is change. So a part of life is being uncomfortable sometimes. It's just part of it. So we try to do what we can to stay comfortable. And I guess I started seeing this pattern because I got to thinking about cycles, and I've done some deep meditations. I try to do like a really deep meditation before I go to bed every night, you know, like, because my body's relaxed, I can actually focus because I got this weird ADD thing. But if I focus in on something, man, I can really like get things done with, you know. And I was thinking, what are these cycles? What is this? Cycles. You hear all this stuff in the spiritual community. Well, it's a cycle. You're going to have to break a cycle. And why do we keep doing the same things over and over again? We keep finding ourselves in the same situations over and over again. And and I'm like, well, you know, it's somebody else's fault. Well, it's not somebody else's fault, because when you start thinking about the same things that you went through over and over again in your life, you start seeing the characters in your life, and you say, well, that person did that to me, and this person did that to me, and it dawned on me. I was like, whoa, okay. This is kind of like when the common denominator doesn't recognize that it's a common denominator in an equation. You know, if you know what that is, surely you know what a common denominator is. I hope I'm speaking to people that have done math up to the 5th grade. But anyways, when you get to that point, you say, well, I can see the pattern. And it's like this weird triangle that we do that I've noticed. And I even drew a picture on a piece of paper that it's like this triangle. Now if you imagine a triangle in your head, it doesn't matter if it's pointed up or down, but just let's call it like what is that? An isosceles triangle, I guess, you know. And if you put yourself at one point of the triangle, you can always put, and this is what I think makes us go through cycles and some of the same patterns over and over again. You can always put a hero or a savior or a righteous idea, or you can even say good at one end of the triangle. And then like not the victim, but the perpetrator and the villain or whatever. So just imagine that you're at the bottom of a triangle and you're looking up to both points, and imagine this in your head. Walk through this with me. And you're looking up at both points, and one point is the savior, the righteous idea, the hero. And at the other point, when you look to the left, is the villain, the bad people, the bad things that happened to me. Right? So, in these examples, I keep seeing in the community here, and I do it myself too. We all do this, I think. So, I'll give you an example. What was this thing that happened in the news, actually, where the celebrities, I don't know, it was Miley Cyrus and who else was it? Both Miley Cyrus and Demi Lovato. They were talking about these alien encounters that they had. And Demi Lovato is talking about if you focus long enough, you can talk to aliens. And she just got through with a nasty breakup. And now all these celebrities are talking about aliens. Like, this is what I think we do sometimes. Like, when the world gets so bad, we look at the politicians and everything in the world as the perpetrator, and the aliens are going to save us. Miley Cyrus is talking about, there's an app where you can do this too, but I'm not saying there's not aliens. I guess my point is let me just go to the triangle so I'll start making sense here. You got humans on this earth, and I've had guests on the show, and I've got everybody talk about, I'm ready to leave this earth. I can't wait to die. I can't wait to get off this earth or whatever, because there's these high-powered galactic beings or whatever. Okay, whatever. Or I'm going to ascend or whatever. Okay. Well, that means that the humans and this earth, if you want to look at this triangle, and all the humans on it, and all the bad people, and all the things that make you uncomfortable, and things that suck in your life, those are your perpetrators. And if you look up to the top right of the triangle, your saviors are the higher beings, and the aliens, and the galactic superhero reptiles, or whatever it is that you think is going to save you. Now, if you don't believe me, this happens in small everyday life too, like all the stuff that we do. There are, I guess if you wanted to do it, you could actually point the triangle up and look down if you want to do. Because I think everybody does that. They look down upon the earth in some way because they're smarter than everybody, or they're better looking, or they understand things everybody don't. And it's just kind of this view of looking down upon the earth that doesn't get you. We've already talked about that, though, but how you're a snowflake kind of with your astrology chart. No one's like you anyway, so to imagine that everyone's going to get you 100%, that's pretty ridiculous. But anyways, so we do this, like, I'm starting to see this pattern in everything, even the conspiracy community. Right? So we have in politics, which it's obvious, which everybody can see the polarity in that one, depending on your perspective, because at the bottom of the triangle, that's your perspective that you're trying to push down everybody else's throat. The Republicans are the saviors. Donald Trump is the savior. Joe Biden is the perpetrator. Well, if you're Joe Biden, then flip the script. It doesn't matter. Or we can even get very simple about this if you want to get even more simple. On this side, and this is some of the stuff I've been through personally, is the perfect idealized boyfriend. And on that side is the victim, my exes that have done all this stuff to me. Right? And then it creates this longing inside of all of us, is my point. As we get down to the bottom of the triangle, we all have this longing to be understood, or a longing to connect with something higher, or a longing to connect with something that's missing. And I think the media knows this, and I think a lot of the people that run the country and the people that are in power, they know this about us. They know that we weren't all raised like kids in a Brady Bunch type family where we had the perfect lives. They all know we all have this deep longing inside of us that's one, looking for a savior or a hero or a righteous idea or something that lines up with what we think. And the other that's caused our own victimhood, that's caused us to be in this state. Now, look, I'm not saying that there's not bad things in the world and people don't victimize and take advantage of you. And I'm not saying that there aren't people that are better for you in your life and other ones that aren't. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is until we get out of this mentality, we're not going to break any cycles at all because we're not doing nothing about it. Right? Now, I myself can tell you that I've been through this myself. I've always had this longing to connect with a person, like I want a partner in life to connect with, you know. And what happens is we end up attracting both things in our life, whether you realize it or not. We attract what we long for, so things will come into our life and show us this way. This is just my theory, by the way. They'll show us these things that we really want and we really want to do, be with, or idolize, or whatever. And then we also have this image, a lot of times it's in our past or it's the bad guy or whatever who's victimized us, you know. So in the conspiracy community, it would be the cabal, right? What the hell is the cabal anyways? Those are the perpetrators, for sure. Anyways, so we get victimized by whoever. It could be your political party that you don't like, your ex, or somebody that hurt you or abused you or used you, your parents, you know, that didn't give you enough nurturing, Monsanto, the cabal, dark evil energies. And on the right, you know, you've got your saviors, the political party, the guy that you like, the perfect health guru, the perfect boyfriend or girlfriend that you idolize, etc. I can go on and on. So how we break these cycles is that means that there's something inside of us that we're not fulfilling. Just not fulfilling. Because we're trying to reach out and find something that will fulfill us. And what I think through this double slit experiment and this really weird quantum thing that happens is we kind of manifest both in our lives. Like this Demi Lovato chick, right? She's talking about, she just got through breaking up with a boyfriend, right? Like, well, I forget his name. It's a big celebrity breakup. And the next thing you know, she's meditating to aliens because she just doesn't feel understood anymore. And she probably feels alone and detached and whatever, and just has given up on probably males and the human race. So she's got this longing and now she's victimized and she's hurt. So she's going to meditate to aliens. And now she said she's talked to them. I mean, you can do it. If you want to get real basic here, let's look at what happens in spirituality. We do that with if we were raised in religion, right? Then you could do the Aleister Crowley thing where his dad forced religion down his throat. So according to Crowley's perspective, religion is the perpetrator and the bad person, and the occult and the mysticism and the hidden things, the mysteries, are his savior. It's the longing that he was trying to fulfill. And if you actually read a lot of Crowley, you'll see the things that he tried to do to fulfill that. It wasn't just studying and learning about it. That wasn't enough. It was, you know, the drugs, the crazy sexual acts that he did, all this other stuff that people say, don't judge him. Well, you know, everybody judges everybody. You don't realize that, but they do. You do. You judge things all the time. All the time. You just don't admit it. Anyways, so there's that, right? The religion, the Pope. Let's see. No, the Pope, the preachers, the Catholic Church, they're the people that are out to get us and hurt us. And the spiritual gurus, the people that study the mysteries and look deeper, they're the saviors. But you can't see the good and bad in both. You got to be able to see the good and bad in both of these things and then say, this is my theory anyways, and say, well, what inside me agrees with both of these things and what inside me disagrees with both of these things. And then once I figure that out, then I can make my next move or my next action or whatever I think I'm going to do. But we've become this society where they want us to stay at a point of non-action and only think about the longing that we have inside of us and how we've been victimized. It's real easy to see this triad in the brain, this polarity. It's not even a polarity. It's more like a polarity perspective type thing where you're at the point of a triangle and the polarities are the others. Because if you can't see what's happening here, it's like you have to grow to break these cycles. You have to, I'll just give you an example, like the political thing. People say, you're a Republican or Democrat. You should vote this or that. Or this guy's a commie and the other one's a savior, etc. But what if I like certain things about the Democratic Party and then there's certain things I like about the Republican Party? And then I'll vote for whoever I think is the lesser of two evils, but I won't commit to idolizing one or the other. Am I allowed to do that? Do you ever see anything like that in the media or on Facebook? Sure, you might catch a few people talking about that every now and then, but is that kind of stuff pushed in the media? Nah. It's just not. Or the ideal mate, boyfriend, girlfriend, or partner that you have idolized based on your victimhoods and the things that you've happened to you because you know what you don't want anymore. And then we create this unrealistic picture of a person who's going to fulfill us. And so what do? We get this longing inside. Some of us might, please God, send us someone that'll love us, etc. And you know what ends up happening is you end up like, if you're not careful, you'll manifest both in your life. You'll manifest everything that you don't want and everything that you want. And sometimes in weird situations, that person that you've idolized, because you have the victim mentality in your head and because you have these things in your head, you're looking for the red flags of what you don't want, and then you project them onto that person. And then here's the weird part. If that person, this is where it gets tricky, if that person has the same thing going on, then you start mirroring each other. So that person becomes the ideal mate, person, whatever. And then all of a sudden they're the perpetrator because of the red flag. And then you're focused and projecting on that. And you're just in this weird cycle because you just can't love somebody for who they are. Their flaws and all, the things that they're good at, the things that they've done. And we all messed up, the things that we mess up, all that stuff. You just can't make a decision. In other words, I think a lot of this stuff happens to us because that's what uncertainty is. If you take COVID, for example, we're in a weird triangle of uncertainty there. It either is a pandemic that's incurable like any other disease, or it's just the common cold that actually, which is already a series of other things, and just put a number on it, 19, that is a little bit stronger and kills other people. But I think in a way, whether we believe this or not, whether it was man-made or not, it doesn't matter how it came about. In a way, we've manifested or asked something like this to come into our lives. And maybe, I don't know, like maybe I started thinking about this just because I get so damned sick of the victim mentality that I've painted the people that have victim mentalities as the perpetrators. Like I've caught myself actually going to the store, like this morning, going to the store, getting a pack of smokes, some orange juice, hearing somebody complain about how their life is terrible and it's going to be worse, and things are going to be worse. I just wanted to run from them. I just wanted to get away from that person. And what am I doing? Like I'm not empathizing or understanding why that person feels that way. I don't care. I don't want to hear it no more. It's something I want to get away from for some reason. Because I'm a victim in my mind to negativity and to people that are constantly playing the victim. And I need to be around people that are positive and fun and don't take anything seriously all the time, because those people will fulfill me. But realistically, I'm just going to end up manifesting the image of both things in my life until I actually become that person that can still complain about the bad crap in my life and yet still laugh at it. That's how we become empowered. And then kind of like move through it, I think. And I can keep going down the list here of how we do this and how we've done this throughout history, I think. But the biggest one that I've really been thinking about, besides the relationship one, is religion and the guru, the preacher and the guru, or the Pope and the Buddhist monk, or I don't know, even the Pope and the magician, or what we think is what the magician actually is. So when we're done with conformity, rules, religious laws, things that don't make us happy, then we run to magic, the occult, the esoteric, things that make us feel empowered, and the hidden truth behind something that we don't understand, instead of actually trying to understand why religion was here in the first place. Like, I've had almost 700 conversations with a lot of different people on here, and I feel like this is something that only a few, even guests that I've talked to, could even recognize. And you know what's crazy is, like, the people that talk about quantum physics, or that understand the simulation, or even talk about simulation theory, or talk about the double slit, these type of people that are really fascinated about consciousness can kind of see this mentality. But they also know not to talk about it like I'm doing right now, because they're just going to piss a bunch of people off, and it's counterproductive. But what I'm saying is, like, how the hell are we going to break cycles if we don't start looking at ourselves? How are we ever going to do anything different if we don't fix anything about ourselves? How are we going to take that step into something that make this uncomfortable, or step into the unknown and still be happy? if we have this longing in ourselves that we need someone else to fulfill all the time, or some other idea to fulfill it. I don't know. And then we get, I'm not in denial either, man. I'm not, it's really weird. I think about the stupidest, deepest crap sometimes, but I'm not in denial either. I know that there are popes, or not popes, but just say priests that are bad, that have done bad things. I know that there are crooked politicians. I know that there are super bad, narcissistic, conforming, egotistical, selfish people that manipulate people in relationships, right? Can't you tell where I have some anger there, right? I know that there are bad things. But how do I stop being a victim to it? How do you stop being a victim to those things that you think you're a victim to? That's pretty interesting what you're saying there, Fly Sick. Like, sometimes I wonder just how freaking deep this double slit experiment goes. Like, according to the celebrity, Demi Lovato, if we all meditate on aliens, then they'll show up. I think she posted this on Instagram like last month or something. And you know what? I think realistically, it's just another way of me saying, hey, you know, what we focus on, we bring about. It's obvious at this point. Look at your life now. I mean, if you really took a long look around you, don't say, well, I didn't ask for this. You know, like, this isn't the life I wanted. I didn't ask for this. And I'm not talking about your circumstances and everything that happened to you 20 years up to this point. I'm talking about at this moment, right now. Look around you and tell me that you did not create this. Your scenario, your situation. In a way, you are a victim to it. In a way, you're there because you had a longing. But you did create it. So, if you read religion, you don't have to get into philosophy. You can find out this truth in religion, and you can find out like this truth, I think, is a truth in, philosophy and the esoteric and the occult too. So if you open the Bible and you read a verse where Jesus talks about, it's not about what you take in, it's about what comes out that will defile you, etc. There's several verses where he talks about how you create your own reality. But that's religion. It's bad. So, but if we open up an esoteric book and some guru says it, then we believe it because we have a longing for the guru, and religion is the thing that victimized us. What I say about all of it is question everything. And everything you see, every piece of information, every book that you read, everything, every like advice that you get from people. I'm not saying don't take advice, but everything that comes into your mind, you should question it. Make up your own mind about it, and then act upon your own decisions. A lot of things get passed down through books, like ideas that never get challenged. But some people believe, well, you watched this on a YouTube video, but I read it in a book. So because I read it in a book, it's real. The YouTube video's not. Really. But I can tear down a car and put it back together just by watching YouTube. So what is it? I don't know. And I think Mary's probably going to talk to us about this. And this week, or at the end of this week, how we have to figure out, and it's a weird thing you hear in the spiritual community, right? Like how we have to figure out like what's serving us to cut away what's like not serving us anymore, and to go towards the things that do. And we call that spirituality. Because the things that aren't serving us anymore are the things that victimize us. But those things don't have to be people. And they don't have to be religions or political parties or anything. They just simply have to be your boundaries. Can't you just love a person if they do victimize you and fulfill a longing for you? Can't you set a boundary to that person and say, hey, I love you, but I won't put up with this, but I really appreciate it when you do that. And if that person loves you back, they'll do the same, and maybe you can meet in the middle. Can you do that with politics? Not really, but you can go vote the way you want to vote and keep your mouth shut. You don't have to be a victim to this stuff anymore. If you don't like the COVID situation, do something about it. What are you doing in your communities, with your family, with the people, your neighbors, the people that are around you right now? Are you helping them? Are you talking to them about it? Are you going in your communities and picketing? Are you doing any research yourself besides what you're being fed? Are you going to the hospitals to see this stuff for yourself? Some of you have family members that have passed away from this stuff. It's all a matter of your perspective, but what are you doing about it? If you want your life to change, you've got to be that change. And I am no different. I am actually realizing this about myself, and that's why I'm talking to you about it. Like I have no idea, like, why am I in New York in this like apartment up here talking about this stuff? I had a longing I was trying to fulfill in more ways than one, but there's other personal stuff. But like, I didn't want to go to Canada or halfway to Canada to fulfill it, but I did. So I shot way out for the longing, right? And then when I didn't get what I wanted, I became the victim. Wow. We didn't get enough donations, or we didn't get this or that, or this person didn't tell me the truth, or these people are copying everything that I'm doing. I did all this stuff and they're copying me. Poor Joe. If I would just stayed true to myself the whole time and been honest and open about it, I think I'd be in a different place right now. I think I would have created a better reality for myself. You know? So what I'm saying is like, what if we lived in a world where we actually realized, even though there's no scientific proof, not totally, not just yet, although the double slit experiment to me would be scientific proof, but there's never enough, right? Because it's too much responsibility, too much for us, for me, for you, to say everything that's happening in my life at this moment, I created based on my thoughts, my longings, my desires, and my pain. and what I chose to focus on. Everything. Now, if you take that mentality, well, then you just become paralyzed, right? Oh, well, I can't think, I can't feel, and I can't focus because I might create my reality. I don't even want to think about that. I can relax more if there's something to blame, or I can relax more if there's something to dream about and idolize. It makes me comfortable to be a victim and to idolize something. Makes me feel good. Meanwhile, the people that are running this place, I think, that are really like, we're talking about people that got more money than you could shake a stick at. They know this about us. They've created dysfunction on purpose. And not because I'm a victim to these people, because I've let them. I've let them steal my happiness. We've allowed them to do this to us. You ever wonder why so many people focus on the presidential election? Why it's such a big deal. But if you really take a deep dive into politics, you'll see that there's a hell of a lot more going on than what the president can do. A hell of a lot. And they put two guys up there. One's, I mean, it's obvious, right? One's red and one's blue. I mean, they wouldn't paint one black and one white, would they? Because we'd obviously probably all pick the white one just because we want good things, because that's the savior. Or whatever, you get my drift. But red and blue, I mean, whatever. And they both stand for two different ideas. More government, less government. They both talk about fair taxes, but it's not really what's going on at all, is it? One of them has victimized you. One of them's made you a victim. One of them is your savior. And then the people that are a little bit more honest, because they don't want to have people talk to them the way I'm talking now, they say, well, it's the lesser of two evils. But they push their idea of that lesser of two evils on everybody. They can't shut up about it. But what are they doing about like these ideas? Like, what are we doing? You believe in less government, then don't go out and get involved with government programs. But I need the food stamps. And then, well, your reality isn't lined up with what you believe. You don't need the food stamps. You need to go out and like get a job, right? If that's what you really believe. If you don't believe in help and community and all this other stuff, go out and get a job. But stop shoving your ideas down my throat and then do something else. Because I don't want to hear it anymore. That's my boundary. You start loving yourself. Like, don't let people do things to you. Like, if you fight, look, if you're a person that fights back and you lose a battle, you're not a victim. You're just a fighter. There's a difference. Right? And if you have some idealized thing about love or politics or health or whatever it is or whatever, then make sure you're doing those things. But if our ideas about those things don't line up, you don't have to shove it down my throat. I'm not the person that's making you feel bad or doing anything to you. You know, you should go talk to the people that are selling these products and get them to stop. And don't tell me you hate this person or that person, you know, or this company or whatever when you buy their products all day because, well, I just don't have a choice. Yes, you do have a choice. got a choice, always. It's just like, the whole unhealthy thing. Like I used to blame that on, well, there's really no health food around here. I don't know where I'm going to get any. Grow your own damn food. Make a garden. Fish, hunt. I'm not saying it's realistic, but like, it doesn't get you anywhere. We all have the right to bitch and vent, right? But we've become like a society of people that just idealize in one area and piss and moan in another. And the people that are achieving, whether they're dark, good, whatever, they don't have time to sit around and talk about it and like not do anything. They're just doing stuff. And for God's sakes, look at Elon Musk, right? Like this guy's got one of the freaking biggest satellite things we've ever had, biggest satellite networks on the planet ever. He sold flamethrowers to citizens. You think he cares what's good or bad or your ideas? Like he'll talk to you about them, but meanwhile he's focused on what he needs to get done. I think we spend more time trying to convince people of what we think is going to fulfill our longings. And then we want other people to think the same way, so it validates our longing. And we spend a lot of time talking about the things that have made us a victim. And then we want to talk so much about it so we can validate our victimhood. And you know what that does? If you believe in magic, manifestation, the double slit experiment, or whatever you want to call reality, you know what that actually does? It perpetuates and makes it stronger. So we all focus on aliens. Guess what we're going to see? We all focus on zombies and the apocalypse and the end of the world. Eventually, the shit's going to happen. I don't know how we don't see this by now. I was talking to my son earlier, and he was, I've done nothing but try to give that boy confidence, and just, he's such a good kid. He's got a good heart. He loves people. He treats people right. He works pretty hard at what he does. But he's just constantly, it's really hard because I love him. He constantly beats himself up or is worried about what everybody thinks. And I'm like, where the hell is this coming from? It's not coming from me. I'm not doing this to him. And if I get caught in that victim perpetrator thing or idealized triangle, whatever I'm talking about, then maybe it's his mother doing it to him, right? Maybe it's not his mother. It's not me. It's society. It's everything that he's taken in. Oh, he wants to start a lot of things. He wants to do some cool stuff, which he's very capable of. He could do it. I know it, and he probably will once he sees it for what it is. But he's worried about the validation. And frankly, I got to tell you, it's not for me, that's what worries me about the world. It's not COVID. It's not the politicians. It's not the food. It's the disempowerment and the unawareness that we have of our own subconscious and our own programs, and the ability to not question them and talk amongst each other and say, what is this for real? And then how can we fix it? It's a frustrating thing to me, actually. Like when you get in a room or something and you're constantly just thinking about stuff, your head can your thoughts can get away from you. And that can create an emotion. When your thoughts get away from you and then your thoughts create an emotion, You're manifesting whether you know it or not. All of a sudden, the thing that creates your reality, and I don't just think this, I really believe this, the thing that creates your reality, the second that happens, a magical trigger turns on. And the universe, the multiverse, whatever this quantum crazy realm, whatever this thing is, super simulation, it starts moving everything around. So when you wake up the next day, that reality is going to come towards you. And based on your emotions, or if you, like me, sometimes I'll have an emotion and wonder, what the hell am I feeling this for? And then I'll start thinking all kinds of stuff. Regardless, whatever that is, because I'm thinking about it, the second I dwell or focus on one type of thought or something, along with the emotion that goes with it, that's the trigger. I'll wake up the next day, and the world and the multiverse and whatever the hell this thing is we're trying to figure out starts moving to create it for us. And I think if we could just figure that out, like we could have and manifest more things faster in our lives the way we want. And I don't mean just sit where you are too. You have to act upon it. I mean, you can't, like, I'll give you an example. And it's a weird example. So the other day I was thinking about the lottery, right? I was talking to a friend of mine, like what I would do if I won the lottery, or what we were talking about. We were talking about lottery winners, and there was this guy that won one at a gas station or whatever. And then we had a conversation about, well, what would we do with $5 million or whatever? I started thinking about that, and it gave me an emotion. I didn't manifest $5 million into my reality because I have this weird mentality about lottery and money and all this stuff. But what I did manifest is a message in my Facebook that looks like a total coincidence, because it's other people say, well, that's happened to me. Well, that's how it works. It works like a coincidence in natural law. Or someone's saying, hey, this is a publisher's clearinghouse. You've won $5 million. That's a total scam. But because I just had that small thing happen, or maybe it was the connection I was having with that person, it caused some type of weird manifestation to happen that way. Looking on Google today, if most of you guys went to the Fringe Fest, Ryan Gable did a show about, what was that show about? The weird stuff they put in your food, right? And he was talking about something that, I mean, I had never heard of this before. It was disgusting. Disgusting. That vanilla, which is a flavor I love, by the way. I love vanilla. Vanilla flavoring comes from the anal secretions of, I think it was from a beaver's butt or something. Like there's actually vanilla flavoring that's made with that. And I'm thinking, oh God, that's awful, Yeah, did I have an emotion about it? Sure. It made me feel gross. It made my stomach turn a little bit. And I don't know how many people were in the room during the Fringe Fest that heard that, but it's now like in Google Trends all of a sudden. Now, what I'm saying is it's like trending right now, that topic. Something Ryan talked about during the Fringe Fest. I don't know if it was trending before then. I don't know when the article came out, but now everybody's focused on it and it's all over Google. If you can see how fast things go viral, like how I'm going to try to look this up too, because I know we got to take a break here. And wouldn't that kind of represent what I'm talking about in a way? Kind of. Anyways, we're all going through this big change, I believe, because I believe in astrology, and it doesn't matter which astrology you believe in. This is the moment where you go back or you go forward. We've been going actually through this. The cycles don't happen overnight, but where you go back and do the same things you've always done, or you go forward. Either way, you're going to live your life and you'll figure out how to be happy that way. But that's what we're doing. I'm just asking all of you, as you're being challenged to change whatever it is that you're being challenged with, to just take like a look at yourself and see if you're doing this. Maybe. Because I know I have. Anyways, I'm Joe Roop. This is Lighting the Void. We're going to take our break here. If you want to call in, I'll open the phone lines up at 1-800-588-0335. You sit around and meditate and start getting in your own mind. It'll take you to these places that I go. I'll talk about some weird magical stuff too. I need to finish the Halloween story, the thing that happened to me on Halloween night with a black mirror. I didn't get to finish that story. We'll be right back.
Experience and live talk, where we discuss current events, society, and culture. My shows are based in actuality, actual existence, contrasted with what was intended, expected, or believed. You can listen to me live Tuesdays at 7 p.m. only on KTLK, The Fringe FM.
Stardate October 27th.
Please listen. Now is not the time to fear. When your immune system is strong, shields up. You have very little worries. If your immune system is compromised, you're susceptible to all viruses. I say shields up and no fear. Try Heart Love from GetTheTea.com. Heart Love has a special ingredient called allicin. It comes from the healing part of the garlic plant. No garlic breath. No garlic leaking out your pores, just pure immune-building ingredients that gets your shields up. Heart Love is a unique blend of herbs that loves to build you up. Google garlic and know the benefits. One Heart Love pill is equal to 20 cloves of garlic. 20 cloves. Shields up. You've heard of our Life Change Cleansing Tea at GetTheTea.com. Now try Heart Love. And by the way, take your blood pressure and watch weekly what happens. So here's how to purchase. Log on to GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea.com and build your shields. That's GetTheTea.com. Mention Ray in the coupon code and hit apply and receive free shipping.
Listeners, did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or no Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of the Fringe FM by calling 701-719-3971. No smartphone app or internet needed. Saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Call 701-719-3971. That's 701-719-3971. Listen to the Fringe FM on any phone, anytime, anywhere.
I don't know all the answers to the questions about reality. I do not claim to know the ultimate truth about life. I seek that which has been made hidden as a part of the family of explorers of consciousness. I am a void walker. Hey, this is Macon, and you're listening to Lighting the Void with Joe Root.
To call Joe, pick up the phone, dial 1-800-588-0335, toll free from the United States or Canada. You're listening to Lighting the Void Radio.
I bet y'all was wondering what was going on there for a second, huh? Well, I could lie to you and blame it on the system and say it's the system's fault. But I got so worked up I had to go outside and have a cigarette. And I guess another show kicked in while I was doing that, but that's cool. Whatever. But listen, I'm serious about this thing, though. This is something I've been thinking about for a while. Well, I forget the formatics, right? So welcome back to Lighting the Void. I'm your host, Joe Roop. We're live on the Fringe FM. This is our second hour, etc., etc. I'm back. Which is the kind of, honestly, this playout system thing I've still been trying to program and stuff too, but, you know, I didn't have enough time to run outside and run back. I'm nurturing myself with orange sherbet, Mike J says. That's fantastic. Yeah, so I was talking about breaking cycles and stuff, and this is something that you hear a lot in the spiritual community and stuff, and I think but it has everything to do with a self-reflection and introspection. And I don't want to get too deep into it because I start sounding preachy, and I don't, like, these are just theories in my head. The theories based on experiences that I've had in my life. So, like, where does this thing come from that I've been trying to chase my whole life? You know how they talk about, like, generational curses and stuff like that? If you really think about it, that's where most of it comes from. Like, when I was a kid, you know, my mother wasn't around, etc. That's the whole victim thing, right? You got the savior, and then so throughout my life, I've chased this fulfillment and things like following my passions, things that nurture me, romance, love, etc. Because there was no female presence in my life there. Like, that feminine energy just wasn't there. Not in the way that I needed it to be. And I could have blamed this on my mother. I could blame this on my father. And I could say that I'm not going to repeat the things that my mother and father are doing, but in all reality, if I look at it, I kind of am in a way. But where did that come from? That's the real question, like, why? I started thinking about that. If you listen to the Patreon, I have this podcast. I haven't done it in a while, but it's called Outside the Shack, where I got into the moon and, like, feminine energy and all this stuff. So I don't really know if I'm comfortable with telling the story of what happened to my mother, but the same thing happened to her in a way, in a sense. But not just where she wasn't nurtured properly. No. It was worse than that. And those energies, I believe, get handed down to the children, etc. And it's like this, you could call it a demon, you can call it whatever you want to call it. So this kind of goes back to the whole religion, occult thing I was thinking about. There's verses in the religious texts that talk about how the sins of the father get passed down to the son and all this other stuff. But if you hate religion and, you know, religion is the thing that's always victimized you, and you look into the occult and the esoteric, it'll tell you the same thing in a different way. It's the same stuff. So this energy gets handed down to the children and then their children until one child becomes aware enough and stops it, breaks the cycle. So at some point, one child in succession of all this energy is going to have to say enough. I want to change the legacy of my family and my ancestors and everything that's happened to them. I want to switch it. And you have to really create some big boundaries in your life to do that. So in my case, I have a lot of love to give. I know this about myself now. I don't really know that anybody else will ever be able to do that in the way that I do, and I don't care anymore. I don't want to try to find, I guess, somebody that will or whatever. Like, what I want is it for it to just be received. And I have chased and chased and chased things in my life. Isn't that crazy? To get somebody to receive it. But even when those things have showed up in my life, I have projected the victim energy onto those people too. And in a sense, we all sabotage things that are good for us sometimes when we do that. And we don't allow the manifestations that we're creating to come into our life. We just can't believe that we have that kind of power. Can't believe that it's real when it shows up. And I got a weird feeling that, like, that's happened to all of us in some sense of the word. Or you have that what if thing in your head. What if I actually would have accepted what was happening and looked at it as a blessing and not been so paranoid about it? Or what if I would have just set that boundary a long time ago and not let this happen to me? Not look at myself as a victim, but just be open in communication, right? Like, look, I'm making a declaration here. Like, this isn't going to happen to me. And it's not, that's how you take control of your, I guess, your manifestations, or how you become the magician, if you want to look at it that way. If you're religious, how you become a child of God, or the Christ-like mentality, or whatever, whatever you want to call it. I think the Kabbalists got pretty close because they, developed a system on the Etz Chaim, which is the tree of life, which I'm sure we've all seen a glyph of that with the 10 Sephiroth, And in the middle, you see the sun and Tifereth, and you see the Zerampin, or it's been called many things, or Christ, or Logos, like the balance between heaven and earth. Because we have to get to that point, and it doesn't matter how you get there. And then I think you can do, once you realize what's really going on, you could probably do the things that Christ actually did. And most of us really believe in that. We fantasize about it, but we don't actually truly deep down believe that we can do those things, do we? Why? Even though science has shown us that we can, the works of all kinds of different experiments have shown us that when we break cycles, even records, that we can. How society catches up to the person that broke the record of the belief. Right? Like, whatever you tell yourself, this is why I don't like telling myself a truth. I'll start even saying that word. Well, this is the truth. This is the reality. Because I don't know what kind of barriers I'm creating for myself when I do that. Because I think the more times we say we know the truth about something, or it's this way or that way, the more boundaries, blocks, and creative boundaries we create. But at some point in time, we can't just like sit around and like think about all this stuff, you know. We're going to have to choose the reality we want and go for it. Go for it. Let's see. I can actually tell you how many shows this is right now. I'm going to find a weird number here, I bet. 600, I think I'm at like 640 or something shows right now. And I don't think I'm quite where I could be. I look back on the past. I look at all the things I could have done different. I'm not in a shack right now. That's good. But I could have had a hell of a lot more in my life. I could have been a hell of a lot more fulfilled if I would have just accepted the creations that were coming in. I'll tell you the story like that my dad showed me when I was little. I told my son today. I don't know if all of you heard this, but I grew up like a fat kid in school, right? I don't know what happened between my toddler years. I was a normal youth. I wasn't fat or chubby or this ill-proportioned or ugly or anything like that. But something happened between then and the third grade. I don't know. I must have messed up my metabolism somewhere along the line and started becoming the chubby kid in school, you know? I don't know if any of you know what that's like. It doesn't matter, but it's not fun. And you don't want to feel that anymore as a kid, right? You just want to fit in. You want to be accepted. You want to be loved for who you are. But you're not. I started, I realized this as a kid, but still can't realize it as an adult for some reason. But I remember going into junior high, and this is when the hormones kick in, right? This is when things really start to matter because things like girls and popularity and all of that stuff really matter. And most of the kids that are like, well, I never cared about any of that stuff. Yeah, you did in a way. You're in a little bit of denial. But that's okay. But I did not want to go into, I remember it was like the 8th grade. I did not want to go into the 8th grade. Number one, not having any girls ever talk to me, right? I didn't want to go into the 8th grade and die on the football field because I loved sports, but I just didn't have the body to do what I wanted to do, man. And being raised by my father, he was like this hard ass who was raised by an even crazier hard ass, which they idolized in my family, by the way, which is cool, whatever. It taught me a lot of things, made me tough. But I'll tell you what it did teach me is I complained enough to my dad, the victim, then my dad said, look, I'm done. I'm done with hearing about this. Totally. Tomorrow, your life is going to change, he said. Well, how? Well, I'll show you. And I was scared. I mean, I thought, I was going to get punished or whatever because we would get punished for that as kids, for complaining, what they called bitching and moaning or whatever. Like we would get punished for it physically too, even. And I couldn't believe, I was like, dang, I don't know what he's going to do. And I woke up the next day and he went and bought a brand new bike for me. And he's like, so you want to play football and you want to make sure that you go and you don't become a victim to all the stuff that you don't like about yourself. And all those people that pick on you and all the girls you think you're not going to date and all this other stuff. Like, what are you going to do about it? Well, you're not going to do nothing until I make you. So here's what I'm going to do. And I thought I was being punished. And for the first, I guess, week or so, I really felt like it was punishment. So I lived 15 miles out of town. And he got a bicycle. And he said, you have to make 22 workouts. Was it like 22 workouts or something to be on the football team? In other words, you have to go to the weight room. You have to do the exercises that they tell you to do, and it's monitored. And you have to do, I think, 22 of them in a certain amount of time before you can even be considered to be on the football team. And if you lived in my area, a bus would come pick you up. A bus. And I was like, well, cool. He said, well, what's the bike for, Pop? You're going to ride that bike and you're going to ride it to your football workout. And then you're going to do the workout. Right. And then you're going to drive your bike another 5 miles to the rec center. And then you make sure that you ride it 15 miles back home and you be home before dark, because if you're not home before dark, you're going to get punished. That's not what he would say. He'd say something different, but I don't want you all thinking my dad's this crazy asshole. He was just doing what he thought was right. And I'm thinking, all right, so there's no way I'm going to do this. You want me to ride 25, was it 25? It's like 30 miles a day on my bicycle. Do the workout, go to the rec center and manage to swim and play basketball and somehow or another get back on the bicycle and ride 15 miles back home. And you're right. Today, that would be considered abuse. And this is my point about the triad, right? But because my dad forced me to do this, I couldn't see. I didn't have a choice. I couldn't cry abuse. I couldn't cry victim. Right? I couldn't say, I'm a victim. Somebody help me, save me. I just had to do it. And the first week, it took me like an hour and a half to get my chubby butt to town. Riding back home, I literally thought I was going to die. I felt like I was going to die. But eventually, he would ride up and down the road and honk at me. Kind of like make sure I wasn't cheating or somebody was picking me up. And after like week 2, I started accepting it in my head that this was going to be my reality for the summer. And it was real hilly, man. I'm telling you. The hills were crazy. Not only that, he forced me to ride on the left side of the road, which is backwards for what they tell you. They always tell you when you ride a bike, ride on the right side of the road to stay with traffic. But not my father. He was like, you're going to ride on the left side of the road because you're not taking any chances on cars not seeing you. That way you can see them and you can get off the damn road. Because if you ride on the right side of the road, they're going to get you. I just kicked my couch. It moved like 3 foot. Anyways. So you know what that's like? Riding up hills. And you're going up a hill in a diesel truck. I don't know if any of you have ever rode a bicycle, but a diesel truck comes down the hill towards you and all that wind hits you and you're trying to make it up the hill. It's not very fun. And anyways, so about the second week, I started accepting this in my mind. I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know how I'm going to do this. I got tired of the pain, the feeling sorry for yourself, the crying, the wondering if you're going to make it or not. And I started saying, well, I know when I get to that hill, I'm a quarter of the way there. And if I can just get to where the mud tracks are, then I'm halfway there. And I'll keep my mind occupied as I keep moving forward. And eventually I'll get there. And then when I get into town, I'll do the workouts. And it won't take me any time to get to the rec center. It's only 5 miles. And then I can like swim and relax because it's hot and I can play. And I started accepting it in my mind that this was my reality. Not that I'm a victim anymore. Not that I'm being abused or my dad's so awful or anything. And I started like timing myself. I got there in an hour and a half. Then I got there in an hour. It's crazy. And the whole time the weight was coming off and I never saw it. Not once did I know I was losing any weight, you know. And the kids, even the football players that rode on the bus, they would drive past me and they would throw things at me and make fun of me and stuff, you know, because they thought I was an idiot. What a crazy guy. Why would he do that? Idiot, you know. And I felt like an idiot. Towards the end of the summer, I had 2 other kids that tried to do it with me, and they couldn't. One of them was one of the best, was like a varsity kind of basketball player. He rode there with me, but he didn't ride back. And another one was my friend from, since I was little. He only did it once. Just nobody would do this, man. It was crazy to everybody. Now, I don't know what happened. Like, I just remember my grandmother, when the summer was over, I'd go into 2-a-days, how all the guys were like puking and, you know, dying out there. I wasn't. I didn't feel like I was going to die or anything. Like, I felt fine. It was 2 days were still a little rough, but I felt fine. But the coolest thing I remember, and some of you are going to laugh at this, but the coolest thing I remember is going shopping for clothes with my grandma. And back then, silver tabs were cool, right? You could wear those and Jinkos and all this other stuff. And like, I could fit normal clothes, man. Like, okay, that's cool. Normal waist sizes and stuff. I guess I am losing weight. But really, another weird thing that would happen is in the changing rooms, I would look at myself and I would still see a fat kid. I don't know how the mind does that. But that's what I still saw. And then it all started dawning on me. I changed my life. I changed my entire paradigm. The first day of school, everybody talked to me. And was it just because of my looks? Or was it the energy I was putting off? I don't know. Girls that I thought would never and will never talk to me were constantly giving me attention. They made me one of the team leaders on the football team. I literally went from not having maybe but 2 friends, never getting a wink or a look from a girl, not being able to do things physically that I wanted to do, to a whole different life. Because I accepted my reality. And at that point in time, as bad as it was, and maybe it is abuse, I don't know, but are we not being abused right now in our reality? You know? But as bad as it was the best thing that ever happened to me. Yeah. And I did it again the next summer. just because I didn't want to lose that feeling anymore. I didn't want to lose that energy. Who was my savior then? What idea in my head did I have? Because I was longing for a savior. I got to tell you, the first 2 weeks riding that bike, I was longing for a savior. Somebody pick me up, like rescue me, throw me in the back of the truck and drive me to town. Somebody save me. I don't deserve this. I deserve better. I deserve a better life, better parents. I deserve all this stuff. Why is this happening to me? Victim, victim, victim. A circumstance that was totally probably abusive and wrong of a parent and totally didn't deserve it, but whatever. It just couldn't stand to hear me complain about it anymore. And I think I'm really starting to understand my father here. And I remember the cool part of it was like coming home the first day of school and my dad just sitting there looking at me. He wanted to know, how was my first day of school? How did football practice go? He had a point to prove, right? My dad was like a deep person, you know. He had a point to prove. He said, now you understand, like, what it's all about. Like, what do you mean, Pop? Well, now you understand what it takes to feel empowered and happy and know you can handle situations no matter what you're in. Make the best of it. I'm not saying everybody can do that, but not only did he show me how to accept the situation that I was in and make the best of it, but at the same time, what it takes to achieve the longing that I had inside of me. The commitment it takes. The persistence. The action that it takes. So, as much as I know it's popular to focus on the bad things without offering solutions or both or whatever, I just don't feel that it's doing us any good. To talk about them or to become aware of them is one thing, but to not do anything about it, not even in your own life. And I'm talking about myself too, you know. Like that's what I remember. There was no triad then. There was no, I mean, at least after the first 2 weeks, for sure, my dad was the mean, evil guy, and the longing I had was the rescue and coach, friend, girlfriend, etc., all the stuff that was just going to accept me for the way I was. And then I realized that I ate things to feel nurtured, to feel better about myself. It wasn't really the answer, though, was it? And I wonder sometimes, I got to tell you, I really wonder sometimes if I've come full circle back to that place doing this show. But somehow or another in my life, I've managed to go back to that place again before I rode my bike. I'm a hell of a lot more confident. I'm still a heavier guy, but I'm a lot more confident as a heavier guy. But when I keep talking into this mic every night, I wonder if I'm doing the same thing that I did back then. I'm just trying to figure out everything. instead of experience it. I don't know. So when I said last week that something's got to change, I mean that. I don't think I'm going to ever quit doing Lighting the Void, but something has to change about it. It's got to be more fun or something, because I can't keep sitting here talking about self-empowerment and consciousness exploration and focusing on everybody else's stuff and their stuff and talking about cool stuff, but never actually getting to do it. I can't tell you the last time I actually, and I've tried, had an out-of-body experience. And I damn sure I'm not going to like make this show and the station the thing that causes me to be victimized by not being able to do what I want to do. It's like I'm kind of living my dream here, but at the same time, I still have the longings. I'm still not. I still don't have the things that I want in my heart the most. And that takes me back full circle to when I was a kid. And I know what it takes to get those things now. I just don't want to get back on that bike again, you know? Right? So I look at this triad that I was talking about. That I was thinking about, that I've been meditating on for days, actually. And I look at this thing. And if I put myself at a point in this triangle and I put God at one side and the devil, or good and evil, I think that's one of the biggest ones that we tell ourselves. God is good. God is great. Heavenly and only does good things in our life. And the devil is bad. And demons are bad. There's always something to blame. Always someone else to blame. Or some other thing we're trying to find. Because life just sucks. He sounds like Eeyore off Winnie the Pooh. But at some point, like, we're going to have to see that God is in us. And so is the devil. One of these ideas, like, empowers us, gives us the life we want, creates happiness, etc. We can call that God, if we want. And one of them takes away from us, imprisons us, hurts us, kills us, causes fear. We can call that the devil, the old Capricorn, if we want to call it that. But really, it just comes down to a few simple things. Or just one simple thing. What are you, every moment, every thought, every action, every emotion, which one are you serving? It's pretty cheesy, right? Your thoughts, your emotions, your thoughts, your feelings, and your deeds, do they line up with the God that's inside you or the devil that's inside you? Because if you think whatever created this thing that we're in now is only created the good stuff, and somehow or another it didn't create the bad stuff, or you believe that, then you're fooling yourself. I'm going to tell you, if you really love the show and you really want to, like, try something, just try this. It's a weird meditation thing you can do. You remember that old thing we used to do when we were kids, like Bloody Mary or whatever? And used to stare in the mirror. You don't have to do that. You can turn the lights off, turn the lights on, whatever you want to do. Doesn't matter. You ever stared at yourself in the mirror for a long time and see how freaked out you actually get? What do you see, first and foremost? That matters. Do you see something you like? Do you see something that is worth all the things that you long for in your heart? Because if you don't, you're never going to have them. You have to believe that you can do that. Accept that person that you see in the mirror. And then I think you have to also identify the devil, the thing that you see that's telling you that you're not, that you can't have those things, that you're terrible for wanting some of those things too. The thing that makes you feel guilt and shame and all this other stuff. And you have to face that sumbitch down too. And once you feel both of those things inside you, I know it's cheesy, but it's pretty powerful. Look at yourself in the mirror and say, what the hell are you really afraid of? Because this is how we identify the biggest and the most honest problems about ourselves so we can break the cycle. What is it that you're really afraid of? If you're one of these people that don't know what you want or why you're here or whatever, then maybe you can look in the mirror and ask the devil what you're really afraid of. And based on that, you'll know what it is you really want and why you're here. I think, at least that's what I feel. That's what worked for me on Halloween night. Because I never, as much as I talk about magic and stuff, I never did any dark mirror or scrying or anything. And I got this new magical toy I want to show you guys. And as much as I studied this stuff, I never did it. I never looked in a black mirror or anything like that. But like I was telling Night Stalker the other night, before the guest came on, when all you can see are the whites of your eyes, it's pretty freaky. And it's kind of personal, even though I talk about personal stuff, even though I've revealed a ton of my own problems and pains and things I've talked to you guys about. This one thing that happened to me was probably one of the scariest moments in my life. And I've seen some scary stuff, man, especially when I was a kid. But the scariest thing I ever saw was my own power. I saw it. And it didn't come from the light. Like who I really was deep down was trapped in that darkness. You know, the real powerful things about me were being held prisoner by this spirit of fear that I could point at and say has nothing to do with me. But in reality, I came to this knowing that it was me. And that sent a very weird, hairy feeling up my back, where I just suddenly realized that everything that's ever happened to me as far as the things that have imprisoned me of my own creation and this spirit of fear was just doing its job, but it was still me. And it was like this, you ever hear these people where they have this moment of, I don't know, Jim Carrey got on and he had an enlightening moment where he was one with everything. I kind of feel like that's what happened, but in a more, I don't want to say powerful way, but because it wasn't, but in a more aware way. Like, what has trapped me here in this mentality? And I think maybe Eyes Open hit it in the chat room, in the Fringe FM chat room. It says, success scares the F out of me. Because we're really afraid to give it our all. We're really afraid to just go for it. Aren't we? We're really afraid to become the child again. And just go for it. Because we don't believe we've imprisoned ourselves with our own thoughts and everything. Like, we've imprisoned ourselves with all these things that tell us we can't, we're not good enough, we won't be liked. Don't you remember all the times that happened to you? Don't you remember what it felt like? The things that I heard this voice say, man, I don't have enough time to talk to you about. But I was literally frozen. And all I could see was smoke and like a little bit of candle flame, darkness, and the whites of my own eyes. Damn, it was trippy, man. And I had this voice in my head. I was like, move, like get move. You know how when you get frozen by fear, you got a voice in your head that tells you move. I couldn't move, man. I was trapped. I literally felt the stuckness and the trappedness of it. So, I guess when it was all said and done, I had to kind of shake it off. It was really intense. I had to shake it off. I had to figure out and come back to reality. And no, I just can't like close up the Lighting the Void and walk away and just go find another life. Just walk away. I mean, I even had that thought too. Like, just walk. I know, and don't get mad at me. Some of you guys have had that too. Walk the hell away. Just escape. Get away from everything. Start over. It's almost like you want to go get a new identity or something. You just don't want this thing that's happening to you anymore. And I started thinking about all the people that reach out to me for advice, whether it be listeners, whether it be other show hosts that need technical help, or other people that need this or that, or even try to do some of the things I do. But then I think, well, I did the same thing when I got, like, we all do that with each other. So why would I just walk away from people when I have people that are loyal to me, and I have people that actually do love me and accept me for the way I am, and others that I'm sure they do deep down, they just don't know how to go about it, etc. Like, why would I just walk away from that? Because I want a new life. Like, I literally started realizing that we're only as powerful as the limitations we put on ourselves. So, if you hadn't noticed, sometimes we just need to make a few small changes. Even though it's big and it's powerful and all this stuff inside of us, we think it's just a few little changes we need to make to balance everything out. Stop saying yes so much. Stop saying no so much. See the things you're strong at, the things that you're weak at, and work on them. Like, I've been doing this Magick thing for a long time now, honestly, in one way or another. And I feel like it's a lot of, I don't want to say trickery of the mind, because it's definitely not, but most of it can just be done with a little self-reflection and a little introspection. I think maybe because I'm so eccentric, I had to get to the point where I had to do some type of Black Mirror ritual to see what was really going on. But yeah. So if you're listening to the show and I don't know you personally, I mean, I see like the same 30 people in the chat room, but I get 2,000 or 3,000 downloads every episode. I don't know who you are. I know there's a lot of you out there. Like, I don't know who you are. But I can't help but feel like you're going through this too. And if you've listened to me ramble up to this point, I think that's the most powerful thing you can do is look in the mirror and like meditate on it, focus on it for however long until you get to the state of where you're not thinking about anything anymore. You're just fixated on your own vision. Ask yourself, do you like what you see? And what the hell are you afraid of? That's the triangle you should be looking at. Because if you don't like what you see, then you know how to fix that longing inside yourself. And if you can answer the question that what you're really afraid of, then you don't have to be a victim anymore. And I don't think that fixes everything. I think we should do that a lot, actually. Every so often check in with ourselves and see how have we trapped ourselves again? Or have we empowered ourselves again? Are we taking time to stop and reflect on ourselves and see if we like what we see and see if we understand our own fear? Anyways, I've managed to ramble. This is a first, so maybe there's some kind of change taking place here. Because I managed to ramble on Lighting the Void, which I feel like it about absolutely nothing but spilling my guts out for 2 hours. But we are going to have more guests come on. It's going to be a little different. The Secret Teachings with Orion Gable is coming up. If you can support this show, I really need your help. I don't like to ask for help. It hurts my pride, but I do need it. If you can support the show, please do so. Go to lightingthevoid.com, donate, or join the patrons. I got stuff coming up for you guys, too. And, yeah, stay tuned for the Secret Teachings with Ryan Gable. Good night.